Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for another Monday mini-sode.
That's right. Our Monday minis are where we get a chance to share a little bit about something reselling-wise. And I say little because we're a podcast, and typically we have hour-plus long episodes every Wednesday. But we try to keep these short, 10 to 15 minutes, where we talk about something very specific. So this is a YouTube exclusive. So thank you for joining us on YouTube. Please make sure to hit the like and subscribe. But also follow us wherever you follow your podcast, because our podcast is, we cover a lot of great things. So check us out there. But what are we talking about today, Orlando?
I was thinking about this the other day because I had two incidents that drove me crazy. One was I had this Halloween sign in my garage in my storage, and a tote fell on it and broke it. And I'm like, oh no, I just lost money. And then I bought one of those Starbucks barista machines for like $25, and the money on there is this thing called the portafilter. It's like this little cup thing that you screw on and screw off, that has, like, you do espresso with. Well, I slammed the trunk onto the Starbucks barista machine, and it caught the end of the portafilter and it snapped it. And I'm like, oh no, like that piece is $40 to $60. It's literally like as if I took a $40 bill and I just lit it up on fire. And I'm like, like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to recover that money? Right. So I actually, I went and got some glue and I tried to glue it together, and you can't, because the piece in the inside has to turn. And if you put too much glue, it gets, anyways. So it was a lost cause. And I'm like, how am I going to recover my money? Well, you can recover your money. That's what I want to share with you. Because even when you have buying fails. So for example, I bought a bunch of briar horses earlier in the summer, but like, I think I don't know, like 20% of them weren't briar horses. I thought they were, but I didn't look through all of them. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't know what these are. And there's still opportunity to make money. And that's what we want to talk about, is that even when you get a buying fail, you can still make money on items.
Yeah. And that could be anywhere from you bought something and maybe you thought it was worth money and it wasn't worth as much as you thought, to a lot of times when you buy, especially if you're buying in bulk of things, you get a lot of chaff, right? Like we were just saying, where you buy something in a lot and maybe only 3 of the items in there are very valuable. The other 10 items are but there's still things you can do with them. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Like, what can you do with mistakes? What can you do with the chaff, the extras? What can you do with maybe some, broken things or things like that?
Yeah. So the first one, real simple, is you can run auctions on items, right? You've done your research. You can identify it. It's not worth much. You could toss it, or maybe you could just run an auction, right? And for example, with those briar horses that weren't briar horses, I sold 10 of them for anywhere from between $5 to $14. If you do the math, that's about $100, right? And it didn't take me very long to take pictures and to pack and ship, and it was fine, right? And it also boosted me in the algorithm, and you could do that. So, there's others. Sometimes there's clothing items, right, that they're not like the best, they're not top tier brands. They're okay, like Cook Street, right? Cook Street Hawaiian shirts, right? Probably not ones you should pick up, but you can put on auction, and sometimes you may get $10 to $20 plus shipping for a Cook shirt, right? So, just be willing to just let it ride. You were going to donate it anyways. Why not just, if it's worth your time, take that time to just run an auction and see if you can get a little bit more money out of it, if it's worth it to you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do stuff like that, even with like Whatnot, right? Where it's kind of the leftovers. You could tell they maybe bought a pallet or they bought a whole bunch of stuff, and again, they're kind of getting rid of the chaff. They're getting rid of the extra stuff. Which again, if you're getting a couple dollars off each item, it's not the end of the world, right? The next thing you can do when you do get to the point where it's maybe not worth your time to auction is donate it. Donate it to a thrift store, because a lot of times thrift stores, there's 2 benefits of this. Well, there's multiple benefits. The thrift store is getting something. Obviously, don't donate trash. But if it's just, hey, I'm not going to be able to profit off of it enough for my time, but the thrift store could still sell it. A lot of thrift stores will offer discounts or coupons. Hey, if you donate certain things, you'll get a coupon that will get you, 10% off or 20% off next Thursday, or various places has different coupons. Also, it becomes a tax write-off. So if you bought a lot of 10 things, and let's say you paid $10 just to keep the numbers even, and then you sold 3 of those items, and then the other 10 items, you got that dollar price point that you paid, you donate those things, that becomes a tax write-off because you paid for it, you donated it. In fact, a lot of times you can get a tax. I'm actually not 100% sure if you get the tax break for the value of the item.
It all
like
depends where you're on the tax brackets and stuff.
Right. So, but either way, you can get potential tax break, and you might be able to get coupons and things like that. And you're helping out your local thrift store. So that's still a win.
Yeah, agreed. Now, the other one is lot these items up. And so this just happened to me. I ended up buying a bunch of vintage toys, and I picked up all the good vintage toys. And then there were like these old Batman toys, and by themselves they were like $3-4, right? And there was also another lot of micro machines, and by themselves like $3 or $4. And it's not worth my time. Spend the time to take pictures, to list it, to store it, to pack it, to ship it, just for $3-4. But I was able to take, for example, I picked up these Cars micro drifters. I paid $5 for them, and I was able to break them up into 3 lots. And one of them had 17 cars and a launcher, and that one sold for $40. And then another item in there was a truck that by itself sells for $80 to $100, so that's going to be money. And then I lotted up the Pixar planes items that will sell for $30. So individually, they're worth nothing. But if I lot them up, they're worth something. And with those Batman figures that I found like 20 Batman figures too. And by themselves, they're like $4 or $5 a piece. But if I lot them all up, it's like an $80 sale, right? So if you have a bunch of items that by themselves are worthless, see if, people sell them in lots. And if they do, there might be a collector out there that, just wants to get that lot of items.
Yeah, no, that's great. You could also part them out, right? Like that's one of the things that is useful to do. I've done this a lot with various items. You buy something and you think it's complete, or you buy it and it, like I said, it came with other stuff. You could be surprised, like you mentioned, the barista machine, right? That one little piece is valuable on there. There have been times where I've bought board games and I've thought, hey, I'm going to be able to sell this board game for $60 or $70. It's incomplete. Now I can't sell it like that. But, and I wouldn't do this for every game, but there are some of them where it's like, hey, I know these 4 pieces in here are pieces that people want. I can now sell these pieces for maybe $5 a piece. And I've at least been able to make 20 on it. And it wasn't a total loss. I paid $2 for this board game. I sold it. I made $20 off of it. And again, you can kind of lot up the extra pieces as like one bundle. But a lot of things like that can be very useful just to part out into pieces. Don't be afraid. Again, it might not be worth your time to do for every little piece, but a lot of times stuff that's incomplete, because you don't always know if something's complete or not until you get it home, or it doesn't work, like sell them for parts. Those things can be very, very useful.
Yeah. So that Starbucks barista machine, even though I lost the portafilter, I can sell some of the cups on there for $20. I could sell the machine itself for $100. I could sell a tray that goes in the machine for another $40. And so I'm still going to make my money back. Would have been nice to just not have that broken piece. Sure. But you can still, recover your money. And with board games, I've had that too. Like, so you got to put yourself in the shoes of a person. There's a $100 board game and they're missing some tokens, and they're like, oh, I don't want to spend $100 on another game, but I'll spend $15 just to get those pieces to make my game complete. And so definitely find a way to part things out. And then the last one here, the swap meet. Mike, you've had experience with the swap meet. Talk to us here.
Yeah, I find the swap meet can be very useful for offloading bad buys or just things that are taking up too much space or long tail items. You've got to know, in the same way, like when you have a garage sale, maybe this is the same thing. You can put it in there. How many times do we go to garage sales and it's resellers selling stuff, and it's not always because they're getting out. And it's the same thing with swap meets. There have been times I've gone to swap meets, whether I'm trying to reduce my inventory or I've just got too many things I don't want anymore. Maybe they'll sell for money, but it's going to take me probably a year or two to find the right buyer, like we talked about a couple episodes ago. Or I could just take it to the swap meet along with another 50 items, and I could sell it for a little bit more than I bought it for, recoup my initial cost. I've got my money back. And sometimes it's worth it, right? Sometimes it's worth, I paid $5 for this. I'm going to sell it at a swap meet for $6, $7, even $5. I've made my money back. And it's not a complete loss of, well, I'm not going to be able to sell this on eBay, or for whatever reason, the market has changed. People will buy things at swap meets. And a lot of times the thing with eBay is people are looking for certain things. They're typing in the search bar. But at a swap meet, people are browsing. So a lot of times people will come and like, oh, this is cool. And they had no intention of buying whatever it is you're selling, some random giraffe figurine or whatever the thing you're selling is. But they wouldn't have looked it up, but they found it at your swap meet booth, and they'll end up picking it up there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I myself have done that. I've gone to the swap meet and I'm looking for things to resell, but then I find a few things and there's not a lot of value on it, but I don't want to pay for the shipping on eBay. I don't want to have to go looking. It's right there in front of me. I'll just buy it. So, definitely recoup your money. Again, you can always turn a bad buy into a good sale. And so hopefully these tips helped you from running an auction to sending to the thrift store to lighting them up, parting them out, or going to the swap meet. With that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling.
Peace.